Managing users and groups is one of the most common tasks in Linux, and it's also one of the most confusing for beginners. In this video, I will show you the simplest working way to understand users and groups step by step with real commands you can actually use. If you want to follow along, there's a link to try Linode in the video description. Now let's move to the terminal. In Linux, a user is simply an identity. Every command that runs, every file that gets created, and every process that starts runs as a user. So if I was to run the command who am I would see Bo. This command shows the name of the user you are currently logged in as. And right now this system knows me as Bo. So everything I do in this terminal happens under this user. To put it in real world terms, when someone logs into a server, Linux needs to know who they are, and that identity controls what they can and cannot do. And Linux does not just track usernames. Internally, it tracks numbers called IDs. So if I was to run the ID command, I will see my user ID. I'll see my GID, which is my primary group ID. And after that, you see all the groups this user belongs to. Groups are how Linux gives permissions to more than one user at a time. Sudo permissions is a great example of that. So in a real-world IT environment, groups are used to control access instead of configuring permissions for each user individually. You will add users to the group. And a group is just a collection of users. Permissions can be given to a group instead of a single user. So if I was to run the groups command, I see Bo, sudo, and users. This shows all the groups that the current user belongs to. And being in the sudo group allows me to run administrative commands on this server. On servers, you often give admin access by adding someone to a group instead of changing system files themselves. Linux stores user information in a file. So if we were to do sudo cat etc paswd file, and then put in our sudo password, each line is one user. You can see the username, the user ID, the group ID, the home directory, and the login shell. This file does not contain passwords. Passwords are stored securely elsewhere. So if a user exists on the system, they will appear here. This is often the first place administrators check. Now let's create a user the easiest, safe way. We're going to run the command sudo add user and then the username test user. Add user creates the user, a group with the same name, and a home directory. This is the beginner-friendly command. As you saw, I was prompted to set a password, and after the password, you can leave the rest of these fields blank if you wanted to. This is how you create accounts for interns, contractors, or even test users on your system. We could also switch users to the test access account if we wanted to test them. So I'm going to do su for switch user, hyphen, space, and then the user you want to switch to. In this case, test user. Now ask for a password. And as you can see, my prompt changed. It now says test user out here in front of the server name. The prompt changes because we are now logged in as test user. And this user has limited permissions compared to my normal user. But this is a great way to test out whether a new user has the access that you expect them to have when you first create them. Most users should not have full admin access. So as the test user, if I was to do sudo ls of the root directory, I get an error message saying that I'm not in the sudoers file. This error was to be expected. It means that this user does not have admin right. In the real world, this helps protect systems from accidental damage. Now we'll give this user admin access by adding them to a group. First, I must switch back to my normal user by hitting Ctrl D, and then I'll do sudo usermod -a and g, the group I want to add them to, sudo, and the user I'm going to add to them, test user. Usermod modifies an existing user, and the little a capital G means to add to a group without removing existing groups. This is the correct way to grant admin access in most Linux systems. And we can verify group membership by doing groups and then the username test user. And we see test user and test user sudoers. Now this user belongs to the sudo group, but they must log out and back in for it to take effect. Probably the biggest mistake I see people make is forgetting to use sudo. If a command fails, check whether you use sudo. Most user management commands require admin access. The second biggest mistake I see people make is using user add instead of add user. User add is a lower level and does not create a home directory by default. For beginners, always use add user so that it automatically creates the home directory and the group for the user that you are creating. And the third biggest mistake that I myself make all the time is forgetting to log out. Group changes do not apply until the user logs out and back in. So to set up a real-world example, let's say this is a Linux server for a small team. And we create users for each person on the team. I'm not going to give them a password. And then we only add certain users to the admin group, and we verify their access by doing groups in the user. And as you can see, Jim doesn't have sudo permission, but test user does. So we can switch users to Jim. And we can try to do ls, let's do sudo for that, sudo ls/root. And we get an error message proving that Jim is not in the sudoers file. And this helps keep the system secure and predictable. As a next step, you can explore file permissions using users and groups together. And that's where this knowledge really becomes powerful. Now work through these steps a few times, and this will start to feel natural. User and group management is a core Linux skill, and you've just learned the safe, simple way to do it. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment below, and I will see you in the next video.